You stopped wanting to go, not everywhere, just there. The dinner party where you performed belonging again. You drive home more alone than when you arrived. The inner citadel. Prosody rate equals slow. You stopped wanting to go. Prosody not everywhere, just there. At the inner citadel, this is not a crisis. Midlife is not a crisis. It is a summons. You have more people in your life than ever. And yet, the silence on the drive home. Jung called this a beginning, not an ending. Not the end of your social life. The beginning. There are two kinds of loneliness. Most confuse them. Surface loneliness, a phone call fixes it, temporary. Existential loneliness, no phone call touches it at all. What you feel at 45 is the second kind. And culture has no pamphlet for it, no stage. Jung had a name for it, and a map. In the first half of life, we build the persona, career, family, the analog to digital social identity we wear, necessary armor. But armor becomes a prison too. Murray Stein, Jungian analyst, named this exactly. The unique individual fights to emerge from cultural entrapment, a period of liminality before the true self emerges. Between 40 and 50, the mask begins to fit badly. Social events drain what they used to reliably restore. Old friendships fail to hold without conflict, just quietly. You stop calling. They stop calling. No argument happened. The April 2026 APS research stopped psychologists cold. American middle-aged adults, lonelier than any prior generation, lonelier than European peers, lonelier than decades prior. But here's what every headline failed to understand. The loneliest generation is also transforming most profoundly. Jung described this exact convergence a century ago. He called it individuation. He said it was the beginning. What we found in the literature stopped us cold. The brain has a network. It activates in solitude. The default mode network handles self-referential processing. You cannot do certain identity work while surrounded by others. Prolonged solitude, the brain engages in deep identity work. Biology agrees with Jung, across a century apart. We find this astonishing and also deeply clarifying. John Vervaeke at Toronto names it relevance realization. The capacity to distinguish what genuinely matters, collapsing. When old meaning structures no longer hold the weight. You feel it as confusion. It is actually a calibration. Be honest with yourself. When last were you fully alive? The friends who fell away were never truly yours. They were your persona's companions, masks speaking to masks. Jung wrote this in Collected Works Volume 7 precisely. When the mask comes off, they have no one. This is not loss. This is the psyche's honesty audit. There is a reason this intensifies between 40 and 50. It involves a part of the brain neuroscience recently understood, and connects to something Jung intuited a century earlier. Let me share something we found in the literature. Daniel Levinson's Midlife Research Life Structure Reassessment. Between 45 and 50, the old architecture fails holding. Not because you failed it, because you grew past it. The Blanchflower and Oswald U curve of well-being. Life satisfaction dips at midlife, then rises, every culture. The dip corresponds exactly to when individuation pressure peaks. This framework helps. It does not replace a conversation. What we're describing is existential passage, not clinical depression. Clinical depression is a different creature. It deserves clinical care. Consider Elena, 52, career plateau, social drift. She stopped accepting invitations, called it introversion. Wrong. Here's the paradox the research keeps revealing over and over. Outgrowing people feels like failure, not to the self. These threads, Neuroscience, Jung, Stoic practice are converging. And what emerges from this collision changes the entire picture. Jung's own life confirms this. His most fertile period, solitude. After the break with Freud, 1913, the abyss. He nearly lost grip on reality. His most fertile time. He wrote this at 62. Decades of inner descent. Surrounded by friends, he would have been comforted instead. Had he been comforted, he would have been silenced. This is where modern self-help gets dangerously wrong. Productivity culture tells you to optimize out of emptiness. That is precisely the wrong prescription. Jung was clear. The shadow contains everything the persona cannot hold. The unlived life, the unexpressed needs, the unexamined grief. In solitude, the shadow begins asserting itself. In dreams. In the sudden grief that arrives without a clear occasion. The 3 a.m. recognition, this life was built for someone else. You remember when MTV still played music, now reality shows. That's what happened inside you. The channel changed. The anima and animus emerged specifically in this solitude. Jung called them wisdom figures, requiring silence to appear. These cannot be accessed behind a room full of masks. Here the research surprises even those who read the books. Susan Pinker, face-to-face contact critical for longevity. Yes, but authenticity of bonds matters far more than quantity. Jung's own model is 100 years old. Note that. Modern attachment theory nuances some of his assumptions, both useful. We use it as a lens, not a gospel. Ever. Elena stopped fleeing the silence. That was the first change. She reported what she found inside the silence. Astonishing. Not lonely for other people. Lonely for herself. Finally. This is the convergence thesis resolving now. Listen carefully. Jungian individuation demands the persona dissolve partially. The default mode network requires withdrawal for deep identity work. The Stoic prohairesis, the inner citadel needing no audience. 3 domains, 3 centuries apart, the same single truth. Outgrowing people after 45 is not social failure. It is the psyche's forced authenticity audit, the only one. The connections dissolving were built between masks, not souls. What comes next is not permanent isolation. Jung was clear. Individuation does not mean permanent isolation. It means clearing. Clearing false connections to make room for authentic ones. Jung's imago phase. New connections between actual souls merge. You did everything right. Meaning was promised. It didn't come. What breaks hid nobody warned it would require this. The practice that reverses this exists, but only understood here. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations as a private practice. He wrote, "Retire into thyself as much as thou canst." Not isolation, the inner citadel that needs no external validation. Epictetus named it prohairesis. What is truly entirely ours, the faculty of choice. The citadel within requiring no audience. Marcus Aurelius called it retiring into yourself. Epictetus named it prohairesis, what is truly ours. Not isolation, the one place needing no audience. Tonight, write 1 sentence before sleep, 1 sentence. What did I do today requiring no applause from anyone? Full investigation pinned in the comments below. Do not edit, do not censor. The shadow speaks first. 7 stages of shadow work. We've covered the first 3. The complete practice reaches further than this video allows. Now, what the loneliness after 45 is actually asking. It is not asking for more social connection from you. It asks you to be precisely yourself. Finally, fully. The solitude you're entering is not empty, it is clearing. What the brain does in cleared space is well documented. Autobiographical memory integration. Self-referential processing awakens within. The brain stitches your life into coherent meaning in solitude. This cannot happen at a party or on the phone. You built your career on rules for a vanished world. The silence at 3 a.m. is the realization arriving at last. What we found across this literature is genuinely clarifying. Those who pass through this emerge profoundly, genuinely different. Not harder, not colder, more themselves than ever before. They build fewer friendships. Each one reaches the actual person. There is a practice tonight, before sleep, simple and specific. Write the most honest thing I know about myself. Not your accomplishments, not your failures, your honesty. The shadow integration protocol continues from that one sentence. You are not broken. Something extremely specific is happening. The inner transformation has an architecture. Jung mapped it. The Stoics knew the interior path. So did the neuroscientists. When did you realize that nobody was coming for you? You become the person who opens the door yourself. Full investigation pinned in the comments. The work continues.